I am Megan Dyer, and I'm the 4-H agent here in Page County, and I am for the soil because it is the foundation for producing our plants and our food systems.
Hey everybody, Jeff Ishii here with another episode of For the Soil, a conversation. And we thank you, first of all, for tuning in, and thank you for support of this podcast. We greatly appreciate it. In just a few moments, we're going to be talking with Mike Parrish. He is with Virginia Cooperative Extension, very active extension agent, very knowledgeable on soil health and a wealth of topics, and looking forward to our conversation with Mike Parrish. But before we do that, I would like to remind everyone that last week was Earth Day on Saturday, April the 22nd, and we took that opportunity to repeat the Earth Day special podcast that we did in 2022 with Karen Washington. She is a dynamic, energetic, knowledgeable, groundbreaking person. I don't know how else to describe Karen Washington. If you have not heard that podcast, we repeated it last week for Earth Day. Just go to any podcast platform and look up the podcast that was released for Earth Day 2023. Now, on we go to our conversation with Mike Parrish with Virginia Cooperative Extension. Hello, everyone, and welcome to For the Soil, a conversation. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii. Also joining us, co-host Eric Benfelt with Virginia Cooperative Extension and Mary Sketch Bryant with Virginia Soil Health Coalition. And I should modify what I just said. It is now officially Dr. Eric Benfelt. Eric, Dr. Benfelt, congratulations on this achievement. I know this is a major milestone in your career.
Well, thank you, Jeff. And as you know, that between my wife, Mary, and my children and friends and family, they've been very supportive and encouraging through the years. And also my colleagues, Dr. Kim Nawalny and others have been great mentors.
Well, we have a special guest today joining us from Dinwiddie County, Virginia. Would you do the honors of the introduction?
Yes, Jeff, I'm very pleased to have Mike Parrish join us. Mike's a senior extension agent in Dinwiddie County and very active with crop and soil environmental sciences, but he's also worked through the years with a number of professional associations. And as you were commenting before, Jeff, he's known for his communication and his videography, and he's also currently actively involved in preparing for the Virginia Agricultural Expo. So, Mike, we're very pleased to have you join us on this podcast.
Good to be here this morning.
Mike, I want everybody to know where Dinwiddie County is. To my knowledge, it's about halfway between Richmond and the North Carolina state line. I have to admit, I have not been there, but it's beautiful farm country.
Yeah, we're just a little west and south of Petersburg. We join them, and we have coastal plain and Piedmont soil, so we get a little taste of the east and also a little taste of the west with our soil types.
And Mike, if you could give us a little bit more of your own background. I know you grew up on a farm and very active in agriculture your entire life. So,
yeah, I grew up in Brunswick County on a tobacco farm run by my grandfather and my dad. And then I got an opportunity to go off to Virginia Tech to study agriculture. And I guess some of my mentors, in college were the applied, professors that would talk about the stories, in their careers and how they improved, cropland and really help farmers make a big change. And I've always believed in the soil health, aspect, of agriculture. And my job, I don't focus on it, but I always come back to it when I'm problem solving with my producers and my specialists that we work with.
And Mike, I believe that you have 3 decades of experience with Virginia Cooperative Extension. If I'm doing that math right.
Yeah, I'm coming up on my 30th year in extension, and I had a few years working with Southern States Cooperative in North Carolina.
Wow. All right. So I would just be interested in over that time, what you've seen change regarding knowledge around soil health, as well as outreach and education around it, and interest.
Okay. Well, when I first started, my mentor agent when in extension was Jim Maitland, and he brought me up when I was first agent down in Greensville County before I came to Dinwiddie. And Jimmy was really working with producers on reducing sand burn on cotton, peanuts, and tobacco crops. And so he was looking at soils as an agent and working with a couple of specialists in North Carolina and Virginia on how to reduce that injury to the crops. And so that soil moving around with the wind, people tend to forget that a lot of soil does move that way. And so he was doing strip trials, and I came up and added a few things I'd like to see as a young agent, where we were planting in the middles only and really trying to improve that. And the farmers really enjoyed the field work that we were doing and the tours we held, where they could see a big difference in how that sand burn really set back the tobacco crop, how that sand burn could really set back cotton. I mean, to the point it was so bad in places you'd have to, replant the crop. And so that was a lot of cost involved, but the delay in the crop maturity, with that sand burn was important. But then we started seeing the benefits of the crop going into strip till production. So we weren't tilling as much in those crops that have traditionally, had moldboard plow, chisels, going through the fields, because they needed that tilled soil to get a good seed bed and get those plants soft to a good start, especially peanuts and tobacco. So once we started looking at strip till, that was a big input. And that was coming from Dr. Reed at the Blackstone Research Station. And my county was the first one to have the largest amount of strip till tobacco. And we had quite a bit of strip till peanuts early on in the early 90s. So one of my producers was able to start that. So, we've been working with a lot of growers. Robert Spires and Mark have been a big influence too, because these farmers are doing a lot of research on their own farms. We always tell them when they plant crops or put down fertilizer or apply chemical, have a test strip, leave something out so we have something to compare. And they've taken it to the next step and, constantly talk with me and the specialists. So going from pure tillage to strip till, now we have a lot of producers in the county that are going all no till and really utilizing those covers and holding field days and trials and advertising meetings statewide, North Carolina, to really see the advantages of working with these covers and improving their soils.
We're talking today with Mike Parrish with Virginia Cooperative Extension in Dinwiddie County, Virginia. And Mike, you just mentioned a term that has come up on previous episodes of For the Soil, a Conversation, and that term is strip till. Mm-hmm. I was not familiar with that technology until recently, and I understand there's quite a conversation, especially in eastern half of Virginia, about strip till and how it's a good combination of not disturbing the soil except where you need to disturb the soil. Would that be a good description of strip till?
Yes, and some people will use the term minimum tillage, but you are, with the technology, you can almost come back with GPS units, and track right back in that till area if you would like, and just constantly leave that as the tilled area. But people are mixing it up. We have these coastal plain sands that will naturally bridge here. Even in a no-till system, these sands tend to want to stick together and form a small hard pan. So strip till is very good, to make sure that we've got that plant area tilled enough to get good seed soil contact, and those roots can jump out and get in a good foothold down in the ground and not have to fight that hard pan. And with the strip till, you're only tilling up maybe 6 to 8 inches in a 36-inch row. So the majority is still, untouched. And it's really got them used to looking at no-till because they're seeing the advantages of building that organic matter in their soil. And in my coastal plains, some of them have, 0.1% of organic matter in their soil. Robert and Mark, that have been working with me for the 30 years, they've seen 0.5%. Talking about organic matter, that's a big gain, in a sandy loam like that we have. And he's seeing a little more water holding capacity. He's seeing a little more, advantages having that organic matter when we have dry spells. And you really can compare some of them that are doing the no-till programs to those who've gone to straight tillage still. And, you can see the advantages just driving through and looking through the windshield of your truck going through, and you can see it visually.
And Mike, we're with soil health, trying to encourage the improvement of water quality as well as the conservation of water quantity. And if you could speak a little bit more about how soil health fits into sort of drought resistance and, being able to withstand, some of the periods of drought that we have.
We've done a couple studies here and working with Hunter Frame and Tidewater, the cotton specialists, and Mark Ryder on the shore. They've got a good collective research program around the state, and talking to other growers about this, how our covers can improve soil structure, how it can improve microbial activity in the soil. And all those things help the structure of the soil, that it also improves drainage, but also adds water holding capacity. And so when it does get dry, people that have been working with the covers, we do see, an enhanced, tolerance to the dry weather that we've had on these sandy soils, because they can be more droughty. So that's the big challenge for us. And then, in the early part of the season, farmers have a challenge, and some are worried about planting different types of covers, because that residue management is a concern, to make sure that they're getting a good population or plant population if they're coming in with beans or corn and heavy residue. But it takes them all a little experience on their own. It's trial and error. What equipment you have, what soil type you have, when you terminate the crop, how much did you plant of that, how much biomass are you actually dealing with. The real serious ones started out with heavy planting rates, and now they've learned to cut back. Instead of going out with 100 pounds of rye, they're going out now with 60 to 75 pounds of rye, and it can tolerate it a little better. Some are terminating a lot earlier. Terminating, what I mean is, killing that cover crop either with crimping with a roller unit, or actually coming in and spraying it with a herbicide and taking it out. And so, all those act differently when they break down, and then how they break down in the soil is changed too, with a herbicide versus a crimper machine. So, it may lay there a lot longer, and some may melt away faster with the herbicides.
And Mike, you mentioned some of the specialists and researchers that you all are working with. And I know a lot of the role of the extension offices is to take that information, get it to producers, to homeowners and landowners. And I know Dinwiddie County, you all are doing a lot of innovative outreach and education approaches. Would love to hear some of how you're getting that information to growers, as well as how you're empowering them to still make their own decisions that are unique to their land.
Yeah, we share, publications from different states that have fresh ideas. We're also, holding local, field walks, tours. I talk with them one-on-one. We get together as groups sometimes and talk. But locally, I'm even promoting the covers to my homeowners. I just met with a homeowner last week that bought new property, and they can't establish a yard. And we talked last fall about planting a cover crop, and he's got a nice, patch of wheat, there in his residential area, and he's proud of it. Now he wants to know how he's going to terminate it. So we talked about either, bush hogging it down, or using a herbicide, for him to make improvements, to get ready to plant. And so he's going to probably end up, putting in a warm season grass, and he's got irrigation, so it does help him a little more. But yeah, they can think of it just like a farmer. I mean, we've got a lot of them that do it in their gardens. So we're encouraging that through my Master Gardener program. And I was asked to go to the Master Gardener College 2 or 3 years ago, and I showed up with a lot of seed that these people could plant in their gardens, working with a couple other agents. And the enthusiasm that they had for the new topic, they never thought about that they could, use covers, in their own gardens to stabilize their soil through the winter. And, some of them that we can plant, like the brassicas, could help with nematodes if they have a problem. If people have, soil structure issues, let's get, a cereal grain that can get through with growth, or tillage radishes, or we can bring in the legumes and have a little nitrogen left over for their, gardens, just like the farmers think about.
Once again, you're listening to For the Soil, a conversation, and we're talking with Mike Parrish with Virginia Cooperative Extension in Dinwiddie County, Virginia. Mike, I'm glad you mentioned the Master Gardeners. That is an important program really all across Virginia, not just rural Virginia, but I know in the cities they use the Master Gardener resources a lot. When it comes to soil health, what do the Master Gardeners offer to homeowners who may be gardening, just weekend hobby gardeners? what resources do they offer those people regarding soil health?
Yeah, some offices offer a testing program for your turf. It's a program that helps homeowners understand, by taking a soil sample, you know exactly what to apply on your turf or your garden so that they're not over applying fertilizers. So it makes a positive impact on our Chesapeake Bay and on our watersheds to keep them clean from having extra, fertilizer that's getting out in the environment. But then it also teaches them, how they can save money by, using less, how to keep the soil health strong so that their turf is strong, so it can outcompete weeds and insects in their yard. And it just brings value to their property. If they can get their soil healthy, you're adding an asset to your own property there. And it has a lot of benefits for the landscape plants and also for the turf itself, and then the forest area around your property.
Just a couple of minutes remaining in this episode of For the Soil, a Conversation. And Mike, before we leave today, and we'd love to have you come back for a part 2 of the program if you're available, talk a little bit about some of the outreach efforts that you have achieved. And I'm thinking specifically of your YouTube channel with Dinwiddie Extension. I have watched just this morning very nicely produced episodes and videos on everything from Virginia wheat production to soybean stages of development to something I found fascinating was the oyster seed production program. I was totally unaware that was going on, but talk a little bit about what you're doing in multimedia and YouTube.
It all culminated from the years with COVID, when I had a lot of educators that were reaching out to me for information for their students while they were trying to teach online. And we were finding out we didn't have a lot. There's some other organizations that have videos, and the teachers wanted something that was really precise. So what I did was basically, try to pick topics that were unique and would hold the students' attention, because that's what it takes to keep them looking at a screen. And so I grabbed a camera that we had here in the office and started videoing locally. And if you visit my page, it's a Google website. It's called Desktop Farm Day. And you'll see some of my early ones, I'm just getting started into how to produce and edit. And you can see they've evolved over time. But I've tried to, focus on all the different aspects of agriculture and show how diverse our state is in agriculture. So that's why I've gone everything from wheat production, to aquaculture, just so when someone visits like yourself that's never seen it can say, wow, Virginia does have a lot, a diversity in agriculture. And I do have one on cover crops, but I would like to reproduce that one now, since I've gained a lot more knowledge and improve my skills on that one.
And what is that web address again?
If you look up or Google Desktop Farm Day, it'll come up on a Google search, and it's there for. Got a lot of ag teachers that have helped me do reviewing of the videos, and some of them are using it in their classrooms. And then I've got some homeschool teachers that are using it also as well as a resource. And we've talked with Ag in the Classroom with FarmView, and I think they've linked to my page also.
Well, whether it's hay or soybeans or oysters, you're doing a good job explaining to the public what is going on in Virginia agriculture. Our time is up. I want to thank Mike Parrish with Virginia Cooperative Extension in Dinwiddie County. And Mary and Eric, we'll see you again on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
For the Soil, a Conversation is made possible with funding support from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation and the Agua Fund. Other partners include the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service, Virginia Cooperative Extension, Virginia State University, Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, and partners of the Virginia Soil Health Coalition. Views expressed on this podcast are those of each individual guest. To download a copy of this or any other episode, visit the website forthesoil.org. And if you have a specific question about soil health, just call your local extension office, your local USDA service center, or a Soil and Water Conservation District office. Music used during today's program was provided courtesy of Mr. Ruiz. All rights reserved. For the Soil, a Conversation is produced by On the Farm Radio in collaboration with Virginia Tech. I'm your host, Jeff Ishii.